Over the past weeks, we have embarked on a special series of interviews to discuss smart homes of the future and how different telcos are approaching the market. So what have we learned from these telcos as they look to stake a claim in the 5G-enabled home market, and what are likely to be the winning strategies for service providers? I'm Guy Daniels, Director of Content at TelecomTV, and joining me now is Boris Maurer, who is Managing Director at Accenture and co-author of the book The Future Home in the 5G Era. Boris, very good to see you again. Now, we've looked at two different approaches and strategies in the marketplace. Vodafone is approaching this from a hardware and device perspective, investing in their new technologies and products. And Deutsche Telekom is investing and innovating in bolstering their networks. So what can we learn from these two strategies?
Hey, great to be back here. And indeed, we see very different strategies, and I really enjoyed the discussion. So when we discussed last time with Thomas von Briel from Deutsche Telekom, we learned a lot about how they really focus on bringing a great connectivity experience to their customers. And we know that on top of that, they actually have an ecosystem of partners which they integrate into their hub, and then also try to bring an integrated experience in the smart home to their customers. So there's one app steering across this ecosystem of partners where you can actually then connect different devices and use them in this app. It's really a little bit different when you see what Tom from Vodafone is doing, where they more think about really creating great experiences in hardware. So really put them into a piece of hardware that people want to have and aspire to basically use. So this is two strategies, and probably this is something where we also see the experimentation still in the market, because our CSPs have tried that out for many years now, and with mixed successes. So they also try new ways. And there's also other examples. So if you, for example, take Comcast, who is leading in this space, especially in the US. In the US, they started very much focused around verticals. Like, for example, security is a big market in the US. And it was actually a great opportunity for somebody like Comcast to go in there and have a do-it-yourself way of creating security experiences. And now they go also into other verticals like healthcare and so on. So you see differentiated strategies, and you see also other telcos that are trying to find ways into this market as part of their data monetization strategy. So it's different approaches that those players are taking. Nothing is wrong, but it also shows that we are still in a phase of experimentation in this market.
So with all these potential solutions and approaches, is there perhaps one that's more suitable than another, or one that will produce results faster?
Yeah, that is a good question. And probably, I mean, this is what we're seeing. If you honestly would ask the CSPs whether they are super happy with what they achieved today, they would probably say, our plans were more ambitious, and they invested heavily. So Deutsche Telekom, Vodafone, Comcast, Verizon, AT&T, our big telcos, Orange, have invested heavily into this area, but to date have seen limited returns of that. And the main problem that we are seeing in this is, and this is something which was in the beginning and it didn't really change over time, is that they are really pulling the train. So if you look at them and contrast them with what the over-the-top players like Amazon with Alexa or Google are doing, they are taking a different approach. They are looking at this market more through the eyes of a platform player, which thinks about there is some value to be created in this market. So let's think about which capabilities we actually need to bring to enable others to be successful in this market. While telcos still have the approach that they want to integrate experiences and then bring them to their customers. This is an inherent problem that our CSPs are caught into because they always favor to generate ARPU. So the average revenue per user is still the KPI that they are looking themselves to, rather to think about how the smart home can extend their reach and their relevance in the daily digital routines of their customers. Which is more a position that the over-the-top players are assuming. So there is something in the fundamental approach that telcos are taking, which may be limiting their success in this market.
So, Boris, it sounds here that CSPs might be their own worst enemies by keep pursuing this approach. What's your advice to CSPs? What should CSPs be focusing on now?
So if you look at what's not working, and on the one side, and on the other side, what are telcos strong in? Then you actually see, and this is something which only got better, and we talked about that earlier in the Corona crisis. Customers really trust telcos. And trust has been rising now in the COVID area because they did such a good job in their core services, bringing connectivity to us all, and let us survive in this world where all of a sudden our homes become the places where we not only are living with our families, but we are playing here, we're working here, we're doing everything at home. And the telcos didn't let us down. So they really, really did a great job. This trust, which always comes with experience, so experience is creating trust, is something that telcos could leverage more to get into the pole position. But at the same time, they also need to think about this more as a platform. And if you look at this market through a platform lens, there's 4 big topics that are still not solved to create a great experience for the user. The first thing is there is tons of app-enabled devices out there, how I call them. So it's silos where you have hardware products and you enable them with a steering on an app, and then you can use the singular device with the singular app. So basically bringing this ecosystem together really and try to help on the interoperability is one thing. And it's Deutsche Telekom, for example, started with that. If you look at the old KiwiCon offer, or what is now a Magenta Smart Home, this is trying to go into this direction, but it's still a very limited ecosystem that they can bring together, very different from, for example, Alexa. But this is one topic. Bring those devices together and help them to interoperate. So interoperability is an old CSP theme. We might forget that actually voice was not interoperable in the past, and actually CSPs made them interoperable. And now connected objects are not interoperable, and we need to fix that. That's number one, interoperability. The second one is trust and data and security. So we need to create a framework in which the consumers feel comfortable to share their data. 73% of the consumers, that is what our research is telling us, see that as the key inhibitor of using more connected objects in their home and basically creating a better future home experience for themselves, because they simply don't know whether they can trust that with the data that they're then sharing, they still are safe at home. So this is another second very big thing. The third one is, while we're talking a lot about hardware, there is on the other side also a lot of services that need to get orchestrated. So it's not only about the hardware that I have at my home, but think about the future home more be something that travels with me and provides me all my personal services that I want to have at my fingertips in an integrated way, or also all the businesses that are around me. So we learned in the crisis that while, for example, Amazon has great growth in the COVID crisis because people have more things delivered to their homes, even bigger growth was with local businesses that had a valid online presence. So also orchestrating those offerings into the household in a better way is still a task which needs to be done. And then the last thing is we see a clear tendency of do it for me. Most of the smart home experience that we see today is do it yourself. But consumers actually want to have more do it for me. So integrated solutions where I don't need to be the CTO of my home, but it's just seamlessly integrated, and I don't even want to understand all the technology that is behind that. I just want to simply have it working for me. So 4 points where telcos can really make a difference, and they are all powered by the trust that consumers have into the CSPs on that. And that's interoperability, service orchestration, dealing with data, and taking away the hazard from technology.
So CSPs have their strengths. You mentioned 4 key areas there. What about the competition to CSPs? Who are CSPs' biggest competitors in this space? And how does the CSP trust level that you spoke about earlier convert into a real business model?
So you have actually 2 big groups of competitors in there. The one big group is those guys which actually deliver services and products into the home. So whether it's hardware or other services. So it could be also the utility, and many utilities tried that out. It is partially, for example, also insurances which tried that out. And then you have all the hardware companies that actually want to have a connected experience around their hardware. Most of those services are vertical in nature, while telcos are really providing a horizontal service. So the differentiation that CSPs can actually get there is that they are one of the most credible, if not the most credible service provider into the home as a horizontal platform on which all those services could play and have their roles. And then on the other side, you have the hyperscalers and over-the-top players like Amazon, Google, or Apple. And with them, this is actually where the trust really plays out. Those players like Amazon and Google are creating fantastic experiences for their customers, but they struggle to explain how they can actually take a role to defend the privacy and security of their customers in this area, because it's in the nature of the business model. There's nothing wrong in that. But the nature of their business model is that they still have a third-party pays principle on their platform, while telcos have a direct relationship with their end customers. So it's easier for telcos to actually overcome this resistance on the consumer side, which I had earlier. So if 73% of the customers see that as a key inhibitor, and that is the same thing in the US as in Europe, then it is something which we can only address if we basically leverage this trust. So this is where actually CSPs could step in and really fix this trust equation around the future.
Boris, as ever, it's great to hear your insights. Thank you very much for talking with us today. And don't forget, you can still watch the other programs in this series where Boris and I are joined by Tom Guy of Vodafone and Thomas van Briel of Deutsche Telekom. For now though, thank you for watching and goodbye.